Oh, baby, what is happening, Bay Area? What is happening to the rest of the world? The Clark the Sharks in South Carolina, the Canoper the Cows in St. Louis. YouTube and Twitch powered by First NorCal Credit Union Comcast Business. Next line, we love you, we love you, we love you. Shaskis, Benoni, Lutman, good morning to you guys. Good morning to all the folks getting off their graveyard shift. Good morning to all the folks who are working for Muni, all the folks who are working for Bart. I may be taking Bart a lot more in the coming future. We'll have details about that maybe next week as we move studios. We're going to move closer to downtown, and there ain't no parking for you boys, so don't rob us when you see us on Bart. Just say hello, please. That's going to be happening. Good morning to the overnight dancers. Good morning to all the teachers, the cops. Where to everybody? Why do you scoff when I say the overnight dancers? They work too. They work hard. They go pay through college.
No, I was laughing at you talking about there might not be any parking for your boy. No, there is no parking for your boy.
Well, you know what? We have one of my favorites on, and I got to say, Kevin Kugler joins us on the morning roast on 95.7 The Game. Good morning to you, Kevin. You have no idea. I may be your biggest fan. I may be your biggest fan.
So you're the one. I'm glad to meet the one that is, other than my mom and my wife.
Well, add me to the club here, Kevin, because this call that you made a couple years ago in 2021 became so iconic on the show, we play it maybe once a day. Here you go, Kevin. Let's take a listen.
On 2nd and 5, this is Eno Benjamin. A little hop step, and he struck Drake Kirkpatrick and takes it in for the touchdown.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, it is a staple on this show, and I say we got to get Kevin Kugler on. Now, my producer, Sam Lubman, out of nowhere texts, we got Kevin Kugler at 8 a.m. I mean, we have Steve Kerr coming up in an hour. I may have been more excited to have you on the show, Kevin. That's how much of a fan I am.
It's true.
Don't let Coach hear this. Steve Kerr is going to be so unhappy with you guys. He'll be like, I don't even know who Kevin Kugler is, but I'm very excited to be on with you guys.
Yeah, they're probably going to fire me for the pre- and post-game show for saying that here. But no, Kevin, seriously, man, you're one of our favorites here. You'll be on the call with Mark Sanchez on Sunday. The Arizona Cardinals, because obviously you've covered this game before. You've done a great job for Fox. Who are the Arizona Cardinals? I know they're a plucky team that are apparently going through a rebuild, but after watching them last week, it's like, are they going through a rebuild or are they reinventing themselves?
I think it's probably a combination, and I don't know that the two are mutually exclusive. I think you can reinvent yourself while you're going through a rebuild. There's been a couple of surprises, and the first thing that stood out to me is how good this team has been running the football, especially in the first half of games. That's kind of been the MO. They've led at halftime in each one of their 3 games this year because they've been able to establish a run game early behind James Conner. And then their defense has fed on the fact that they've controlled the rock in the first half, and the defense has been able to thrive in that first half as well. Now, they've worn down a little bit in the second half. They're not very deep, especially along the defensive line, and I think that's going to be a challenge for them coming up this weekend. But if you're watching this game on Sunday, keep an eye on how the Cardinals start, because if they get the run game going early, they're averaging over 7 yards per carry in the first half.
Wow.
That helps a defense when you can grind it out. And look, Josh Dobbs, to his credit, is not making mistakes right now. No one knew what to expect. They acquired Josh Dobbs right at the beginning of the season and threw him into the starting role with Kyler Murray on the shelf, and he's played clean football. You play clean football, you run the ball, you have a chance in this league.
What's going on there with Kyler Murray? Like, what's your feel on that? It sounds like he's progressing very well from the ACL injury. They've got a lot of money due. Do they actively sit him? Do they actively shop him? Like, what's the feel on Kyler Murray? Because Kyler Murray went number 1, we got Nick Bosa number 2. So we're always kind of keeping an eye on Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I think the edge goes to the 49ers right now in that deal. Not to disparage Kyler Murray, but Nick Bosa is a generational defensive talent, assuming health. And what Kyler is doing right now is trying to get back as quickly as he can, by all accounts. What's going to be interesting is the business side of this decision for the Arizona Cardinals. Do they allow him to play, risking the chance that contract could become fully guaranteed over the next couple of years with another injury for Kyler Murray? That's a big question, and I'm going to be very interested to see what they decide to do. You know, it's become okay to move on from top quarterbacks. We've seen it with San Francisco. We saw it with Arizona. They kind of started the whole process of, hey, we're going to cut bait with a guy we don't like because they cut bait with a guy they didn't like to get Kyler Murray right after they drafted Josh Rosen. So I think you have to look at this and say, what does the franchise want to be moving forward with Jonathan Gannon? It's a different era. It's a different plan for this franchise. And they're going to have a big-time decision to make when Kyler Murray gets back, because Kyler's making it very evident that he plans to be back. And as he said in his social media post last week, he plans to be back soon.
Wow, again, he's making what, $51 million next season, 45, then 50, and then 40 again. That's a lot of money. And as you mentioned, it's a new regime. We're talking to Kevin Kugler, of course, as a lead play-by-play voice on Westwood One Radio for college basketball. Of course, does a great job there. He'll be on a call this Sunday with Mark Sanchez at Levi Stadium for Fox Sports. So as we talk about Kyler and Dobbs and the Arizona Cardinals, what about this 49ers team? We're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles saying, how could we match up with that? And Jalen Hurts is in a bit of a funk right now, but I think he'll get it together. Brock Purdy right now. You know, somebody Mike Florio yesterday threw out MVP talks with Brock Purdy. I'm like, MVP? Brock Purdy, really? But he gives us a sense of, okay, this is the guy. He's going to get you in the right set, and he's not going to turn the ball over. Tell us about your impression of Brock Purdy so far through his 11 games in the NFL.
Well, all he does is win. I mean, I don't know what else there is to do for a quarterback other than win, play clean football, lead a team. He has the complete confidence of his head coach, which I think is always underestimated a little bit. I mean, to have a coach who trusts you completely, like Kyle Shanahan clearly does to Brock Purdy, and I'm not just speculating on that. We had them a couple weeks ago, and he flat out said, I trust Brock. I trust him implicitly. When you know that your quarterback is going to execute the plays that you call, what a comfort level you have as a head coach and as a team and as a play caller. I've had the chance to see both Philadelphia and San Francisco in person already in this season. I said this before the Eagles played Tampa Bay on Monday night. I had that game for Westwood One. I've had San Francisco both last Thursday and the week before for Fox on the Rams game. And I'm not just saying this because I'm on this station, but I really do believe San Francisco has the most complete roster to date in the NFC. Doesn't mean they're going to win everything,
right?
But if you told me to stack up, to choose one team of the teams in the NFC that I'm going to move with going forward, it's the San Francisco team right now. They've got talent at every level defensively. They've got wideouts that can make plays. They've got a tremendous tight end. The only edge I'd probably give the Eagles is on the offensive line, which I think is the best offensive line in the NFC, but it's not a gigantic difference. And look, Jalen Hurts is off to an up-and-down start. Brock Purdy is not. He's not off to an up-and-down start. So I give the San Francisco 49ers the edge there because of what Brock Purdy's done.
Real quick, Kevin, you brought up Kyle Shanahan. What are those meetings like with Kyle Shanahan when you and the Fox crew go into Santa Clara and you sit down with the coach to kind of get an idea of what they're going to do and get some insight? What is Shanahan like in those meetings?
He's terrific. He lays out everything that we need to know for a game. And I say that, not every coach will do that. Some coaches are a little more guarded. Some coaches are a little more. Kyle is confident enough in what his team can do and trusts the broadcasters. I mean, I'm not running out to tweet or X or whatever it is now. I'm not going to X out the game plan that Kyle Shanahan offers us on a Friday meeting, but he'll go through what, not necessarily here's the game plan play by play, but here's some of the keys. Here's the health of our team. He's very honest with us, and I always enjoy our meetings with Coach Shanahan and with his staff. Steve Wilkes is a tremendous addition to the staff. We enjoyed working with him as the interim head coach in Carolina last year, and he's been terrific to work with in the early season here in San Francisco.
How have those conversations changed? Because I was going to ask a very similar question regarding like when he had Jimmy G versus now how he has Brock Purdy. Because it sounds like to me, oh man, I really trust Brock Purdy, or I'm paraphrasing here. That's something that he said to you. Could you tell a couple years ago that he maybe didn't trust Jimmy G and his opinion on the quarterback has evolved now that he's got Brock Purdy?
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, he never came into the meeting was like, oh gosh, I don't trust Jimmy G, or oh boy, this is, I can't call this play because our quarterback can't execute it. I believe he believes in the guy that he has out there, but he is able to tailor his game plan to the strengths and weaknesses of each quarterback, which any good coach or any good play caller will do. And I just think he looks at what Brock Purdy can do, and I think so many people still look at Brock Purdy and go, what, dude, Brock Purdy's a 7th-round pick. He's Mr. Irrelevant. How in the world is this guy going to lead a team to a Super Bowl? And I think his confidence in what his quarterback can do is a statement not only to the rest of his team, but to the fan base as well. Like, look, if I trust him, you should trust him because he's carrying all our hopes on his right arm. He's carrying all our hopes on his brain and on his ability to make plays. if I, the head coach, trust him, everybody else should follow along.
So you do this for a living, and they go, you got to be unbiased. You're supposed to be the broadcaster, and you can't have favorites. Yet, inevitably, we're human. We have favorites. Who's your favorite on the Niners? Like, who's the guy, for whatever reason, it could be a good or bad player, personality or play, who's the guy you're like, that's my favorite 49er?
I love Fred Warner, and I think I love him because he is he just goes about his business, does his business with a steely-eyed focus that I really respect. And every single year, just as the sun rises and sets, Fred Warner makes plays, and he makes the right plays, and he makes smart plays. And he is constantly striving to improve himself, even though he's arguably the best middle linebacker in the game right now. I think Fred Warner, if he continues on this path, has a chance to be in Canton someday. I think he is an absolutely tremendous talent, an incredibly smart player. I am a huge Fred Warner fan. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be rooting for the 49ers this weekend on the broadcast, despite what you'll read in social media that I'm rooting for one team or the other. But I think Fred Warner is just fantastic. And look, the ability to play behind the defensive front that the San Francisco 49ers have helps him a ton. But he's been that guy no matter who's been in front of him over his career. I'm a huge Fred Warner guy.
Kevin Kugler is on absolute fire. You hear him on Monday Night Football for Westwood One. You hear him college basketball Westwood One. And, of course, on Fox Sports this Sunday. He does a great job with Mark Sanchez calling football games. He'll be on the call again Sunday, 125 against the Arizona Cardinals. You brought up Fred Warner. If it wasn't for T.J. Watt, I think Fred Warner could be a candidate for DPOI. He's that good here. But I want to go back to the offensive side of football for a second. And Christian McCaffrey. You know, when we talk about MVPs and who's more important and this and that, I think people are reminded of how good Christian McCaffrey is as one of the better running backs in football. And what he's done to unlock this offense opens up everything, whether it's for Purdy, Debo, or Brendan Ayuk. Did you forget how good Christian McCaffrey was as he was in Carolina kind of struggling with injuries?
I think everybody did. You know, out of sight, out of mind, right? And when he was battling those injuries in 2020 and 2021, everybody just sort of went, oh, yeah, well, here's Christian McCaffrey. You forget what he did in 2019. He went to the Pro Bowl. He was the 1,000 guy, and everybody's talking about him as one of the greats to play the game. Then he gets injured, and, he's 5'11", he's 210. Maybe he's not durable enough to do this. Well, he's durable enough to do this. He's as talented as there is. And anytime you have stats where it's like you're the 10th in NFL history to do X or Y or Z, Christian McCaffrey has a couple of those already. You're among the best to play. And he is, look, again, the Niners don't lose in the regular season when Christian McCaffrey is out there on the field. This is a team that has a very balanced and prolific offense, and without Christian McCaffrey, they're not as good. He is fantastic to watch. He can do anything that you need him to do from the running back position, and he is strong. That lower body is a strong lower. It's not quadzilla body like Brock Purdy, but it's in there. It's in the range of that.
We've got some people at this studio and in my life who are huge Trojan fans. What's it like working with Mark Sanchez, man? He's dropping Dane Cook references.
That references.
The BK Lounge.
I like Sanchez, man.
This guy, he's letting it fly, man. What's it like? Give me something about Mark Sanchez that'll make us chuckle.
Mark Sanchez is the most likable individual that I've ever worked with, because every single person likes him. I always say if he fell into the mud, he'd stand up clean, because every single person, there'd be people there to clean him off immediately. He is just the most likable guy. He loves football, and he's so enthusiastic about football, especially as it's happening. People always go, oh, this guy's full of it. This guy's an act. That's an act. I'm telling you, Mark is giddy when he walks into a booth. He's giddy to watch football, and like many of the people in your life who are Trojan fans, he does love his alma mater. He is a huge USC homer. Believe me, if this were a USC game, you'd have no doubt who Mark was rooting for in the game. He would have a hard time covering that one up. But Mark is tremendous. He is just a ton of fun. He's got a great family behind him, and I love Mark like a brother. He's the best. Has
he ever, spoken with you in confidence or off to the side about the parallels between him and Brock Purdy, just in terms of like going to a win-now team and taking that team deep into the playoffs? Because I do think that the majority of fans have forgotten he was really good for those Jets teams early on. I mean, really good.
No doubt.
The team kind of failed him around, but like I can see some comparisons, or at least maybe he sees a little bit of himself in the Brock Purdy story of what he's trying to accomplish right now.
I think the biggest difference is the expectations entering their careers. I mean, Mark went in as a first-round draft pick and as a highly touted quarterback from USC. Brock came in as an afterthought in the 7th round from Iowa State. Everybody saw Mark's games in college. Pete Carroll, USC, that was the team to watch. You know, I live in the Midwest. I saw some of Brock Purdy's games. Not a lot of people are watching Iowa State football, and that's no knock on the folks in Ames, Iowa, but it's just the reality of the situation that Brock wasn't a guy who was getting a lot of run outside of a very small area, and Mark had the spotlight on him going from maybe the most prominent college football program at the time to the biggest market in America to play football. So there's a certain difference from the expectation standpoint and probably the pressure standpoint going into the career. Brock had very little pressure when he showed up at camp his first year. Every single focused camera was on Mark the minute he showed up, and he took 2 Jets teams to the AFC Championship game. They didn't get to the Super Bowl, but I haven't exactly noticed the Jets running to the AFC Championship game since. So what Mark was able to do was at least impressive from the standpoint of he did that right out of the gate and got that team to back-to-back AFC Championship games. And see, and from the standpoint of pressure in a young spot, yeah, there's a lot of similarities between the pressures of Brock Purdy now and what Mark Sanchez was having to do at young in his quarterback career.
Look, I feel like we could talk for an hour because I realized that you were a 94 graduate in Nebraska and those Tommy Frazier teams. Some of my best. So I'm a Florida State fan. That Orange Bowl is an all-time classic, 1916. I knew you were there, but I got to ask you, what's your favorite call, Kevin? Because we played the call coming in. What is your personal favorite? What is something you look back at and say, boy, I really nailed that one?
I mean, most of it comes from the Final Four. I've been fortunate enough to be a part of the Final Four since 2008. And my very first Final Four was the Memphis-Kansas Chalmers shot Final Four. Wow. And I'm sitting there courtside at the Final Four. And, 3 years ago, I was calling Division II basketball. And now I'm calling this game on the biggest stage. And my partners in the game are Hall of Fame coach John Thompson and Bill Raftery. So, I mean, it's one of those moments where you kind of look at yourself and say, who are you and how did you get into this chair and do you belong here? And then you nail the call and you feel really good about it. Yeah, no matter what I do, and I've had the call of Villanova, North Carolina a few years back. Wow. It was just one of the most amazing games I've ever seen and one of the most amazing frenetic finishes I've ever seen. But it's hard to beat your first. And the first in 2008 with Chalmers hitting the shot and Raftery giving an onions right after the shot goes through. I mean, it's really awesome. Hard to beat that moment. I don't know if it's my best call, but it's the call that I think most fondly about when I think back on what I've been able to do.
Cougs, you're on all of these different stadiums. You're all over the arenas, wherever. SoFi, me and B have like a love affair with SoFi.
I was just down there 2 weeks ago. It's amazing.
It's incredible. I think it's one of the greatest venues in sports right now. Where would you put Levi Stadium of all the? I'm just curious, like an unbiased opinion. Where's Levi Stadium in terms of the top NFL venues for you?
Couple of things that help Levi Stadium be top 5, top 10. I'm trying to run through in my head really quick. SoFi's awesome. The stadium in Minneapolis is tremendous. The SoFi booth, the broadcast booth, has a terrific bathroom in it. I mean, that one apart. Got a big, spacious bathroom. You could have multiple people in that bathroom, and it wouldn't be too much room. But one of the things that set Levi's apart is the carving station that they always have up on the food floor. I mean, that's not a bad thing to have a place where you can go and have somebody carve you fresh meats or chickens or pork loin or whatever the meal of the day happens to be. So big fan of that. But I mean, shoot, SoFi's hard to beat. Dallas, another, Jerry World. They didn't exactly skimp on that place. It's very nice as well. So there's so many new states. We enjoyed the stadium in Vegas last year. Got there for the first time in Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, and that's really nice. And it's a cool location right there off the Strip. I mean, the NFL is fortunate. I did college football for a lot of years, and one area the NFL has college football for the most part is stadiums across the league. little bit better. There's some historic like Lambeau, and then all these new ones, which have all the amenities you could possibly want.
All right, Kevin Kugler, one more time before we get you out. We got to do it since we have you on. We're going to do it again. One of my favorite calls. I do get so happy with this call, even though it's against my Niners, but we needed to play it to show that, hey, they were getting physically pounded by Colt McCoy and the Arizona Cardinals as well as Eno Benjamin.
On 2nd and 5, this is Eno Benjamin. A little hop step, and he trucked Dre Kirkpatrick and takes it in for the touchdown.
Oh, my goodness. You captured the moment, Kevin, because we're all saying, oh, my goodness, we're getting ran out of the building by the Arizona Cardinals. Kevin, you're a great sport, man. A lot of fun on this interview. Hopefully we get to do it again soon. Seriously, we love your calls, man, and we'll be listening on Sunday.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on anytime. We'll do it again.
Absolutely. Kevin Kugler. That was really good stuff right there. Love that. Kevin Kugler, he said a lot.